And online. So welcome everybody. It's Thursday, September 11th, an auspicious day. We're all here for the RFTA Board of Directors meeting. And I'm going to start with our roll call. And Nicole, if you can take care of that. Here.
Jeannie McQueenie. Here. Rachel Whitehead.
Here.
Aaron Zelinsky. Colin Laird.
Here.
Brandy Copeland. He was online. Tom Fritzstein.
Here.
Steve Smith. He was too.
I think Steve's here also.
Bill Guth.
Here.
Hey, Bill.
No
Okay.
problem.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to keep us moving. If anybody has any questions about the minutes, I'd love to hear.
I just have one
Yeah,
little
go ahead.
correction. It had me listed as the alternate from Picken County. Should be Snowmass Village.
Thanks for catching that. But you're welcome anytime. I'd need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
And a second from Jeannie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open up to public comment now. There are a couple, at least one, maybe two people here I've invited to come in to speak. We have tomorrow, CORE is doing their Green Expo. And we have our new director of CORE, Tara Sitzline, coming in. And then also we have Nowie, and your last name I'm going to get wrong, from Green Power is presenting at CORE, but they have an electric shuttle van and they parked it out front. So if you have a chance to come and see it at Town Hall this morning, you could. And they'll be offering rides to elected officials and other interested people, staff from the counties and municipalities. Because as much as some people would like to think, I think the electric vehicle is not dead yet, but it's pretty ubiquitous now around the world. And these guys have taken a chance and brought one here to demonstrate that they may still be a viable alternative for us. So I'm grateful that they came, and we're going to entertain. If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself. We limit it to 3 minutes.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Nowie Olin, and I serve as Vice President of Business Development and Commercial Operations at Green Power Motor Company. Green Power is a leading manufacturer and distributor of all-electric, purpose-built, zero-emission, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles, serving the cargo and delivery market, shuttle and transit space, and school bus sector. Since 2011, our mission has been simple but urgent: to accelerate the adoption of zero-emission transportation by building battery electric buses and commercial trucks that are affordable, durable, and easy to put to work. We are proud that our vehicles are on the road in delivery fleets, schools, transit systems, van pools, and shuttles across the country, offering the same performance as their diesel counterparts, but with a ride that's quieter, cleaner, and more efficient. I'm here in Aspen and Carbondale this week with an invitation. Tomorrow, September 12th, at the CORE Green Expo at the Limelight Aspen, Green Power will be showcasing the all-electric EV Star passenger van. It's one piece of our broader lineup, which includes shuttle buses, box trucks, refrigerated cargo vehicles, stake bed, and utility trucks, to name a few. Vehicles that are purpose-built to be all-electric from the ground up. Our goal is to meet with leaders like you and your stakeholders who are ready to explore projects that advance safe, sensible, sustainable transportation here in the Roaring Fork Valley. The community has long been a leader in sustainability, and we believe there is real opportunity to expand what zero-emission fleets can look like in Aspen and beyond. The timing could not be better. On September 15th, Colorado will reopen the Clean Fleet Vehicle and Technology Grant Program, with applications accepted through October 24th. This competitive program is only offered once a year, which means taking action now is critical for those who have been considering or planning fleet electrification efforts. It's a rare opportunity to secure significant funding that can make these projects possible while creating win-win-win outcomes. Better for drivers, passengers, and visitors, better for the environment, and better for the natural beauty that makes the Roaring Fork Valley with such a special place. I'll be available today for meetings and personal ride and drive opportunities with the EV Start passenger van. And I look forward to connecting with many of you tomorrow at the Core Green Expo in Aspen from 1 to 6. On behalf of Green Power Motor Company, thank you to the board for your time, for your leadership, and for the chance to be part of the clean transportation future that the Roaring Fork Valley is helping to shape. Thank you.
Now, if I could ask one
Sure.
question, there was a plan to take Brian Pettit, our Public Works Director at Pitkin County.
Correct.
Made it possible to do a run to the Maroon Bells, just as a ride for anybody who wants to see
That is correct.
how that would work. Is that on the schedule?
That is on the schedule for today at 2 p.m. at Pitkin County Public Works.
Pitkin County Public Works at 2 p.m.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all.
We moved the meeting, so the vehicle is here. If anybody would like to
Got it,
ride
right. And
after-
yeah, it's parked out front
Good to
also.
go.
So
Thank you very much.
if anybody wants to check it out after the
Mhm.
meeting, it's there. Great, thank you. Tara, come on up. I really wanted Tara to come in. She is the new Executive Director of CORE.
Yeah.
And welcome, and 3 minutes.
Thanks, Greg. Nice to meet y'all. Like Greg said, I will step into the role of CEO as of next Monday. So I have been with the organization for about 3 years now and very excited to lead CORE into this next phase of exciting work that we've got going. So I'm sure y'all are familiar with CORE, but just a quick recap of what we do. Primarily support building decarbonization projects throughout Pitt and Eagle and Garfield counties. That looks like energy advising and financial support for energy efficiency and electrification projects like heat pump installations. We have so far this year awarded over $1 million in incentive funding to support those kinds of projects throughout the territory. And oh, I'm getting some echo. Yeah, excited to continue that work through 2025 and beyond. And one of the ways that we overlap with transportation, we support EV charging infrastructure installations. So particularly in multifamily and commercial buildings, we will award grants for installing EV chargers where those chargers are going to be accessible to multiple parties. And like Nowie said, we're hosting a Green Expo tomorrow where we're going to be featuring some industry vendors like Green Power Motors. So we would love to invite you all to join us from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Limelight in Aspen. We'll also be hosting 2 panel discussions, one on local and regional climate action, featuring some members of local government from the Pitt and Eagle, Garfield County areas, and then a second panel discussion on more national global climate action and how we fit into that scene. So the event is free and open to the public. We'll have our industry vendors there all day. We'll be having an induction cooking demo at 2:30 and then a cocktail hour from 5 to 6. So please join us for any part of the day if you're able to make it. And any public that's listening, please also join us. You can register online on our website, or you could just show up, and we hope to see you all there.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tara, and welcome to the job. You've got a big job ahead of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate that. Do we have any other public comment? We do. Come on down. If you could give us your name and you've got 3 minutes.
Thanks, guys. My name's Carlton Henry. I live in Basalt, and I'm excited to come before the board this morning to share an opportunity to increase customer satisfaction and system reliability at little to no cost to RFTA. In July, I wrote an email to RFTA regarding some negative experiences I had attempting to ride RFTA buses with a bike. And in August, I was fortunate enough to speak to some hardworking folks at RFTA at the Northwest Transit meeting in Frisco regarding my frustrations. And now as the days are getting shorter and colder, I'm standing here to share my sincere hope that we can remove RFTA's arbitrary rules around traveling with a bicycle sooner rather than later. For over a decade, I've commuted year-round by bike with the aid of transit and would love to share a few positive examples. Attending undergrad at the University of Minnesota, I was able to get around the Twin Cities by bike with the help of light rail train and buses that always allowed me to bring a bike. In the winter in the Twin Cities, which is much colder and darker than winter in Colorado, I was able to ride public transit using Metro Transit services and a bike to commute, shop, attend classes, concerts, and sporting events without the need for a car. While living in Fort Collins, Colorado, I worked 1 day a week at our firm's Denver headquarters. I would ride my bike to the bus, take the bus staying to Denver, and then ride my bike to finish my commute. Each leg completed faster and more enjoyably than by car. This commute occurred year-round, usually beginning and ending in the dark. Many of these buses are the very same buses used by RFTA. Why then am I prevented from bringing my bike on a RFTA bus for most of the day and for half of the year outright? Preventing commuters from using their bike to solve the last mile problem of their commute makes for a worse transit experience. Period. We don't need to spend thousands more on WeCycle or the Downtowner to make these improvements. We just need to ask our peers what works. The argument that bikes block the bus lights at night is ridiculous. Transit services around the state and across the country are able to operate their buses while transporting bikes at night without this excuse, including RTD in Denver and Boulder, Transport in Fort Collins, Mountain Metro in Colorado Springs, and the Bustang across the state of Colorado, which all allow riders to board with a bike with no restrictions in regard to time of day or time of year. Let's ask our peers how and remove these arbitrary rules before the snow starts to fly. I hope to see you on the bus this winter. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate your comments.
I printed out a few copies of my email and it's got my card as well. So if anybody.
Thank you. Thanks for
I did it.
that. Food for thought. Any other public comment online? If you have to yell at me, I guess, online, but I don't see anything. And in the room, okay, we're going to close that. I want to thank everyone who spoke today. Do we have any items to be added to the agenda? Kirk or Dave or Mike or?
No items from staff.
Okay, thank you. We're going to open board member comment. If anybody has a comment they'd like to share, please do. Colin.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the trail staff for the great tour of the Rio Grande right away. A couple of weeks ago, it was a beautiful day. Hopefully some of the issues that are coming up are some encroachments we found that are caused by RFTA partners. So we have to make sure we do surveys before we put things in the right of way. And I think staff will be reaching out to member governments to talk about that. Also want to shout out to RFTA for the repaving a couple of years ago, and then Pickens County for their repaving this year. Major upgrade to the safety of the trail. It's a very well-used asset, and if anybody's been out there on the weekends, you can see how busy it is, let alone commuters during the week. We also talked about next year potentially doing the tour and starting up valley and going down, using e-bikes as well, and maybe doing a Saturday if it's challenging for people to do it during the week, and maybe we can work with staff to make that available so they can get a day off during the week. Amazing asset. Really encourage people to go. I know there's going to be a van tour, but there's nothing like being on a bike, seeing the trail and seeing its opportunities and challenges going forward, especially since it's really well used. Since many of the RFTA members are also members of the West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition, I just wanted to thank everybody for the efforts they've made to help the residents of the Aspen, Basalt, and Mountain Valley mobile home parks purchase their parks. We're not done yet, but we're very close. And thanks to all of you for contributing, because it's a huge lift and we're very close. So thanks to everybody for participating.
Thank you, Colin. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to go with Jeannie, and then I want to just add some experiences I had on the Rio Grande Trail the last couple of days. Please go ahead.
I'm going to apologize if I'm stealing any of your thunder, but I feel like I heard from our Congressman Hurd about the grant that has been delayed through the federal government, and he's wants us all to, I think, appreciate the fact that he worked hard to get that funding freed up for us. And so, I just felt like I should at least give him a shout out. He doesn't get a lot of love like from some portions of our community. And so just want to make sure that people appreciate the fact that we did have a congressman working on our behalf to free up that grant dollars, and I'll let you explain about the grant dollars.
Right.
So, because that was big news.
Did I see another hand up from, yeah, Dave?
Turn that on. Just wanted to make a comment about the Mid-Valley, increased bus service that we were talking about doing. I mentioned that to people. That was something that people have been excited about. I continue to get comments about it. I get on the bus and the rows are filled with people standing and everything. So the more information we can get out on that and specifics on when that's going to come and things like that would be appreciated because, it's brutal out there. I mean, I don't drive down to Carbondale often during the day like this, and just seeing and hearing about the traffic and seeing the traffic. Like, here's your alternative: standing in like sardines or just cars forever. I mean, it's tough choices. It'll be great to make the bus very attractive by having enough seating and things like that for folks.
Yes, it's actually a presentation on the agenda today.
Great. Oh, Rachel, please. You'll have to unmute. Oh, still can't hear you. We're trying to unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we've got you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to follow Jeannie's comments and also thank Representative Hurd. I had seen him at the Club 20 meeting on Saturday as well and mentioned to his staff we were concerned about that. And it was kind of like two ships passing in the night because Kurt had just got the information on Friday night that the grant was unfrozen. But it was nice to meet with him and thank him for all his work on this issue. I think that that's really important and a good sign he understands our valley. I just wanted to say that we've had some continued concerns up in Aspen about the electric bus charger and are we really utilizing that and how we can get that going so the buses don't have to go back to the Airport Business Center to charge up in between things. I realize it's something that takes a little work. I just wanted to mention it because it came up at a meeting the other night. And other than that, I'm just looking forward to what we can do with the budget for next year. I think everyone knows the city is moving forward with a reevaluation of the entrance of the preferred alternative. That is going to be, somewhat lengthy process, a year to 18 months or more. And that may lead us to a supplemental, and then we have to pursue the money. So the bottom line of all that is I'd like to ask people if they can think of any ways or small measures that might help us move Highway 82 traffic better so that we can both accommodate the buses and perhaps alleviate some of this cut-through traffic on Highway 82. The studies that have been done so far in the entrance show that 34% of the traffic that enters Aspen in the daytime leaves through the residential neighborhood of the West End. And that's just not fair to that neighborhood. It's also somewhat dangerous, certainly for the residents there. And we may have to close Power Plant Road next summer to replace that bridge there, so anybody coming up with any ideas and a very simple one, I'll suggest it and then I'll get off the line, but was that the intersection the pedestrian crossing by the Old Poppy's restaurant at 7th Street should be timed to be a timed crossing, not a on-demand crossing. So it shouldn't be every one person who pushes the button and stops the raft of buses and all the traffic in both directions, and then someone else does 20 seconds later, and then somebody else does 30 seconds later. It should be timed, and they should wait on the sides, just like Main Street down by the Hotel Jerome, until the walk signal comes on. And even just a small improvement like that could really help traffic flows. So I really want everyone to think about and then give us ideas when you see things that might help us in the interim, because we are going to have to come up with short-term solutions. The additional buses should really help with that, and we appreciate that with RFTA. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. Do we have any other commenters?
I just had a quick comment.
Alyssa.
Just two things. One, I've just noticed a lot of letters to the editor in the paper about the speeds of the e-bikes on the trail, and maybe this is what you're going to comment on, but I mean, I haven't been on the trail, so it's not firsthand knowledge, but I do think it's something important, just more education. I know at the Aspen School District campus, they really have a lot of signage and talk to the kids a lot about riding their bikes and where they should be riding them and the speeds. And so something to think about. Also, when Carlton gave his public comment, it would be interested just to hear follow-up on the bikes. I didn't know some of that because I don't really put my bike on a bus and go anywhere, but I think that would be important to get some more information on that. So that's it.
Just to build on your comment about the e-bikes on the trail.
Yeah.
On the Rio Grande Trail, I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be restricted to like the lowest level of e-bikes, but there are people on there with those like almost motorcycle e-bikes just zooming along, and it's really dangerous. It's totally inappropriate, and something needs to be done about that.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah,
Mhm.
thanks, Alyssa. And Dave.
Yeah, I'm hearing comments like that as well as other counselors in Basalt. And just a data point, for the first time, we've exhausted our rebate program for e-bikes in Basalt. That hasn't happened before. So there's definitely a trend upwards of usage, which is good, but also, we got to figure out some of the traffic rules and protocols with it.
Yeah, and there's different levels of e-bikes.
That's
right?
that's
And
a
that's
key
the key
part.
thing. Yeah.
I was going to share that I've been riding my bike to town. It's much faster than taking a car at this point when it's busy in the mornings. The thing I'm noticing is that, first of all, even the lowest level e-bike can speed on the Rio Grande Trail. So it's not about the category of bike. It's also pretty much impossible to determine whether a bike is category 1, 2, or 3 anymore, because they can be altered. They can be, there's so many varieties now. But what a speed limit does make sense, and adhering to the speed limit does make sense. And there have been calls for enforcement of that because it's a fairly narrow trail, and it has everything for pedestrians and baby carriages to senior citizens doing rehab to e-bikes and commuters like myself. We have a huge, differential in velocities in this narrow space. And I can imagine a time when we might want to widen that trail if possible, and also stripe it and post maybe more signage. It's been suggested that we have to patrol it and enforce. And I know somebody I know who works in the county who will go unnamed received a ticket actually from a ranger the other day. They were slightly over the speed limit on their bicycle. I don't even know if it was an e-bike, but it's not about the category of bikes any longer. It's about the velocities. Yesterday, 2 things happened. One, riding into town, crossing the Castle Creek Bridge. I came across a gentleman coming the other way on his bicycle, hands-free, headphones in, just tootling along, and so I had to navigate next to him on this bridge. It didn't occur to him to put his hands on the handlebars. Then on the way home, group of people were stopped because there was a bear eating acorns off of a bush directly on the edge of the trail along the lower Rio Grande Trail. And we all waited for the bear to take his fill, and he made some noise, and he eventually sauntered away very nonchalantly, didn't care about us at all. And it opened up the traffic again. But it's a busy trail. There are a lot of people there. And we do have other things. The other public service announcement I would make on that is that this is the time of year when you find snakes, garden snakes, sleeping on the pavement on the trail. So just be wary. You may run over a snake. That's no fun. I always try to shoo them off if I can. That's pretty difficult as well. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for all that. And any other board? And we've got Bill. Bill, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Rachel covered most of my comments, but one thing I wanted to reinforce is I'm very excited about the Fare Free trial this fall, but I have not seen a lot of advertising or promotion of it. And so one thing I want to suggest is we immediately get with our respective staffs and issue as much communication, PR type of stuff we can get out there immediately. As far as I know, I think this starts on September 22nd. So we have 11 days from the kickoff. I want this to be successful. I want this to provide more demand than we typically see these times of years because of this program, but I don't think we're doing the greatest job telling
Thanks,
people
Bill.
about it.
Clarification on the start date.
Yeah, do I have it wrong? I very well might.
It's October 1st, actually. It starts
Okay.
October 1st. I was going to mention that as well, but I got too long-winded. Well, I've just been hearing great enthusiasm for it, and people are already saying, "Why aren't you doing this year-round?" And I think, well, let's give this a shot, and then maybe give it a shot in the spring and in the off-season, and then we'll see where that goes. So, anyway, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and sure, more promotion the better. Why not? Let's try and get people on buses. My pipe dream is to electrify some of these hotel shuttles in the resort towns, and maybe eventually maybe they could get access to the bus lanes. But that's another huge question. I shouldn't even bring it up. So apologies. If that's it, I'm going to move to the consent agenda. Oh, Kurt.
Yes, if I could just respond briefly to some of the comments. We do, in our CEO report, we'll speak more to what we're doing regarding the promotion of the fare-free period. Jamie will come up and speak. She has provided media kits to all of the jurisdictions to utilize to get the word out. She'll share more about that. Regarding the public comment we just heard from Carlton, we'll provide more information at our next meeting in a response to that. But I did want to just highlight me coming from Fort Collins and transport. One of the things when I came to RAFTA was, why do we do this? Why do we have these rules in place that are making it harder for people to extend their trips or get to the bus via bike? And I just wanted to highlight the one difference that between RAFTA and those systems that were referenced, like Fort Collins and RTD in Denver, is our system is operating on a rural highway. And it's very low light conditions. We don't have the same street lighting that you have in an urban setting. The urban setting, the buses are traveling on average between 20 to 25 miles per hour. Our buses are traveling 55 to 65 miles per hour in low light conditions. And our buses are relying much more heavily on the headlights than buses in urban areas are. So that was really the primary difference and the obstruction that bikes can pose at nighttime of the headlights. So, but we'll provide more information regarding that.
Thanks.
But that was a question I asked as well when I came here.
Could we think about putting those, Baja 1,000, lights on the tops of the buses? That might irritate some drivers, but.
Well, and I will say that we are still working to see how we can resolve these issues, because being able to access our service by bike is a very important piece for people being able to access and then ultimately get to their destinations. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the clarifications on all of this. If that's it, I'm going to move to the consent agenda. Boy, how did I get so far behind? I guess there's just a lot of comment this morning.
We had more more board comments.
Yeah, more public and board comment, which is good. I applaud that. We have a consent agenda. We have resolution 2530, authorization to submit a letter of support for a City of Glenwood Springs grant application to the Garfield County Federal Mineral Lease District. And we have resolution 2531, authorization to submit a letter of support for Colorado River Valley Economic Development Partnership, CREVEDP. That's a great acronym. Application for Colorado Parks and Wildlife and Great Outdoors Colorado Regional Partnership Initiatives Grant. I'd like a motion to approve unless
I
anybody
move
wants.
to approve the consent agenda.
Thanks, Ray.
I'll second.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Presentation action
Aye.
items. Resolution 2532, authorization to submit a grant application to the CY 26 Colorado Department of Transportation SB 2030 Formula Program. Dave Johnson, you coming in?
I will
On
actually
that?
cover this one.
Kurt.
This was originally a consent item, but because this is a new grant program, I wanted to just share with the board a little bit about what it is, because it's actually really exciting. For the first time of my time working in public transportation in the state of Colorado, this is really the first significant funding source that the state is providing to local public transportation providers. So Senate Bill 230 is a new grant program that's been created using revenues from oil and gas in the state to fund the expansion of public transportation. This is a new grant program that's formula based, so it's something that we can rely upon year over year. That is the intent. It's intended to act similar to some of the other federal grant programs that are formula based, where it's intended for operations and maintenance, not so much for capital. So it'll help fund operations, new operations. Right now, it's looking like it should be for RFTA a fairly significant amount of funding. I don't want to necessarily quote the exact amounts, but it's in the millions. So where we're at in this stage of the process is they're asking for our applications, speaking to what we would intend to use the funds for. Right now, we're looking at being able to expand our existing regional services that we provide along the I-70 corridor as well as the 82 corridor. So this would be looking at beefing up our BRT services and services in the Colorado River Valley. There's also some portions that would be available to Aspen as well because of the services that we provide for the city of Aspen. So there'd be a portion of that funding that we would work with the city of Aspen on how those funds would be utilized. City of Glenwood Springs and Town of Snowmass would be receiving their funds through this program directly. So they would be able to determine how they'd like to use those funds. So it's a new program, a new grant funding source for operations to expand transit services. So it's brand new. We're in the process, and this would be seeking permission to submit our application for that.
Great, thank you. Very exciting. Questions, comments, motions?
I move to approve that resolution 2025-32.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. Very exciting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great, thank you. Up next, we have 2026 first draft budget presentation. On deck.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Budget guys back. So as we're gonna kind of go through our presentation deck. Everybody has the agenda summary. So if there's questions that do come up, feel free to ask along the way. And we're going to get that deck up right here, Nicole. As we go through this, a lot of the things we'll highlight a little bit more is any real changes from the presentation in August. So really with the agenda from transit services, we'll go over our challenges, considerations, opportunities, look at the financials, revenues, expenditures, where we're at with staffing levels, our goals, and where's our fund balance look at this point. So transit services, this first draft again is really built on service levels of 2025. So for example, our 25 winter service for 24-25 would be the service right now in this draft. Any changes that would be brought forth, I know Ian's going to be presenting here a little bit the Upper Valley service. This would not be included right now in the transit service plan. So if we look at just ridership, one of our big things and kind of what we always keep 2019 in there is just really that delta between prior COVID to where we're at now. And we keep on, as you see that growth in there, fairly conservative right now on 2026. We actually think we'll probably be closer to 3%, which would entail getting closer to that 5.4 million that we had ridership in 2019. Service hours, as you can see, we're pretty flat across the board. Go ahead and go in miles. Not a whole lot of changes. Obviously, this draft was presented in August. And as you can see, it's really flat. It's very minimal changes. The only real change is what happens at this point in time is changes the seasonality when our seasons change based on the calendar. So our challenges, opportunities, and considerations. Probably the first one. I'm actually going to kick it over to Kurt. No. Yeah. Anyways, it was brought up. Obviously, Representative Hurd had a big piece. When we talk about our construction projects, one of the big ones was the grant that was obligated. Kurt has executed it. It's 32.8 million.
Sure. So the cat's out of the bag during board comment, but so the grant that has been frozen for several months we recently received last week a notice from the Office of the Secretary of Transportation that that grant was approved after we agreed to make revisions to the grant to change it from a zero emission grant request to a low emission grant request. So once we made that revision, the Office of the Secretary approved the funding. And a huge thanks to our entire delegation, including Congressman Hurd, both of our senators. They all wrote letters and made phone calls to the Secretary of Transportation, letting them know how important this funding was for our region. So that funding, and really also a really big shout out to Federal Transit Administration Region 8 staff. They prioritized our grant in terms of awarding and executing those funds. Once the word came down from the Secretary's office, we had those funds obligated and executed within a matter of 3 days. So that was really a big help from the staff in Denver at Region 8. But back to David.
Quick question, Kurt, while we've still got you. Would it be appropriate for RFTA board and to send a thank you letter to everyone who helped make this, pull this back into line?
Yes, we are working on those thank you letters, and we'll be sure to work with all of you to ensure that we get those signatures coming from the board. But yes, that's all in the works right now, as well as to probably the Region 8 staff for FTA, because they were a huge help in this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, everybody, on this one. One of the things when we do talk about the grant and that project, the GMF expansion phases 6 and 8. So as we get more along the way with estimated project costs and everything, there'll be a budget amendment in the future to true up that overall project. Initiatives currently in process, no real changes from the last presentation in August, just to highlight a few of those, which is it is in the agenda summary. But a lot of the planning going on with our Aspen maintenance facility study right now to kind of prioritize all the works that going in there. Further along the way, we'll actually share a little bit just how capital in nature transit is. And then as we go along the way, kind of looking at that funding, where our fund balance is, and how do we actually fund all this stuff over the next 5, 10, 15 years. The impacts to HB 248, really the property tax. One of the things to note when we talk about property tax, we right now on the assessed valuations we're getting from the counties, they're all pretty preliminary still, is we're looking to be flat. Now, if we go back in time, every 2 years we have the assessed valuations that come out. We typically see some growth. So this time around, we're basically going to be looking at coming in flat on property taxes. I mean, 2 years ago, we went up 54%. The prior 2 years prior to that one was about 8.5%, 9%. So one thing we'll do need to consider as how this truly does going to impact RFTA moving forward on if we're going to start to see little to no growth in this line. One of the things, if we just look at the counties, it's kind of interesting right now. Picking counties kind of coming in about 2% down to the last assessed valuation. Garfield County is about 12% up and Eagle County is about 10% up. So all said and done, that kind of puts us flat, even though Pickens County is our largest portion of our property taxes. Grant funding, Kurt just did an excellent job talking about the SB 230, which is actually a really exciting piece to see how this all going to play out for RFTA and our whole valley. Mr. Michael Yang would like to add something?
Thanks, David. With respect to the grant funds, because we were going to submit our application, one of the things that CDOT had shared with us is that they will strive to get contracts executed in March. So as it relates to our budget, we may plan to just amend the budget in 26, amend the 26 budget during the 26 calendar year. Sometimes, although they strive to shoot for a certain date, sometimes there may be delays. And I think that depending on the final outcome of that grant execution date will determine more practical matters as to when we could schedule some of these services. So that's the part that I just want to share with the board.
Thank you. When we look at economic indicators, one of the biggest things that we look at in the budget office is really how are sales tax looking from the jurisdictions. Last month when we presented, we were trending over 4% comparative to last year, which really entails a 2% growth over the budget. The budget for 2025 included 2% growth. So we're seeing now, once we added in the last month, which was really our June sales tax receipts, which kind of kicks off summer. So we were very anxious to see how we had a slight dip, not much. I think overall, when we sort of weighed everything out, was like a drop of 20,000. So we're still trending at that level. As we go in, Paul works very closely with all the finance directors across all the jurisdictions. So we're pretty conservative right now. We're really only showing like a 0.5% growth right now. As we start to get more information from all the jurisdictions, this will really get fine-tuned quite a bit come to the November presentation. Healthcare costs, no real change. We're at 17.5% right now as a placeholder. More meetings. The executive team will be reviewing this with our insurance broker team next week for really that first big push on how everything's shaking out. Again, our biggest issue we have at RFTA is our loss ratio, which is it's still running over 200%. So there's a lot of different ideas on how to get that down, but we're still hoping that will come down, but more to come, and then we'll have that sort of flushed out come November. And then total compensation package. This deals a lot with our strategic initiative process where the executives are reviewing different items to either add based on where we're at financially through the first draft. So where are we at? So our first draft right now, if we look at our revenues, if we compare it back to budget year over year, we're at 95 million, which is really a 3% growth on revenues when we're really looking on the operating side. Expenditures at 86.3, that's really about a 5% growth compared to last year. So right now, one of our areas that Mr. Michael Yang, Kurt, David Pezinchek will look closely at is as our expenditures outrace our revenue growth, where's that put us? And then where can we really fine tune on the expenditure side? So bottom line is net revenue of 9 million. So we go through with the strategic initiative process. Right now is 114 strategic initiatives with a total one-time cost of 35 million and then an ongoing cost of 6 million. So obviously 9 million doesn't cover all that. One thing is our estimated fund balance right now is at 97 million, which as we start to layer things, when we talk about like the asset maintenance facility master plan, a lot of this stuff will start to flush out as when some of these major costs are going to be hitting us and how can we make sure that we have the fund balance to cover it if there's any changes that's going on the operating side.
Question, just a quick question. How are you managing, it sounds 114 strategic initiatives is a scary big number for me, only because I don't have context. How do you manage something like that? Is it, you have okay, you have an OKR system or something for
Mhm.
keeping all that together. How do you guys juggle all that?
Yes, so as you all remember, the way we budget for any new activities for the organization, as well as reviewing existing activities, is we have a process each year where the organization submits initiatives, ideas of how we can achieve our strategic plan, our strategic plan outcomes. So this year we received 114, think of them as ideas. These are things that the organization staff has said, these are initiatives that we feel will help advance our achievement of our strategic plan. So we then have a process, we have an evaluation team that evaluates those 114 strategic initiatives. We review them, we rank them in terms of how, or I should say, rate them in terms of how we feel they accomplish those outcomes within our strategic plan. We're in that process right now. We've just finished reviewing all 7 outcome areas for all of the 114 initiatives. And through that process, we've rated them. And now that we have an idea of what the amount of funding could be available to fund those initiatives, we'll be able to draw a line in terms of these are the projects that we feel best accomplish our strategic plan outcomes. And this is how they rated, and this is the funding we have available, and those are what we'll bring forward as recommendations within the budget. And that will be happening in November, correct? Okay.
Great. Thank you for that. Rachel, question?
Yes, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I really wanted to just kind of note this is $95.3 million. And I know Kurt is working on this kind of 1 or 2 pager that describes RFTA's services and its assets and you know, on and on like that. I think that's really valuable to continue to refine, because I'd like to put together what I think our whole valley as a whole is spending on transportation at some point. I know individual communities, Carbondale and Basalt, Somas Village, have their systems and are contributing to the downtowner type programs. I know Aspen spends close to $12 million a year on its in-town routes and services. And I just think a total number or something approximate total number would be really valuable, say, for those who are working on this 21st Century Transportation Committee, for us all to kind of acknowledge how many millions of dollars our communities are putting together towards this sort of effort and how we can synergistically get the greatest effect from it all. And then kind of a second comment on the 114 strategic initiatives, and Kurt can probably answer this quickly. It reminds me of our grant funding opportunities for the nonprofits and having to weigh out all these different ones that come in from the Valley. Do you kind of break them into categories? Do you have, it's not 114 random. I'm sure you are able to group them into 6 or 7 categories of based on what the benefit would be and what this is trying to accomplish. And hopefully we'll see that at a future time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rachel.
Yes, they are grouped by the outcome area within our strategic plan. So our 7 outcome areas, that's how they get grouped.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, if we were to give board direction, which staff would we give it to accumulate the data that Rachel has suggested that we request? Is that something that RFTA should collate, or is there another entity that has the ability to request all that data from the various entities regarding their transportation budgets?
I think we'd probably be the best start to that discussion. From what I'm understanding, that what Rachel's asking for is really just being able to illustrate the services that RFTA is providing, from fixed route bus service to our paratransit services to our microtransits to bike share, because I think not everybody recognizes that RFTA has a $95.3 million annual budget, over $300 million in assets. that scope and scale is probably maybe not appreciated by everyone in the valley.
Right. And are there any other organizations left out? Are the downtowners included? I guess they are through our grant funding to them. But I think it would be useful information to, the entire budget spent on transportation funding, whether it's RAFTAs or perhaps others. The ski company, for instance, the
Right.
contributions, it seems to me that would be very useful information, and I would join Rachel in asking staff to do that. We may need a quorum. Any other board members interested in directing staff? I just want to make sure if you need direction like that, we can provide it.
Yeah, and we're working on it. And that
Okay.
95.3 million of revenues is a combination of service contracts with jurisdictions. It's a grant, or I should say, sales tax and property tax revenues. It's registration fees on vehicles. It's fair revenue. It's grants. It's all of those sources that
Right.
compile into that.
I'd even like to extend it a bit and see if we could get the hotels and resort operators to share what they spend on transportation. I think that'd be useful information. I'm
Yeah.
thinking for the transportation committee, I don't know if that's where Rachel was going, but I'm excited about that. Thanks.
Yeah. Greg, I can ask through the ACRA if hotels are willing to give us that sort of transit line from their budgets. And as our member jurisdictions kind of finish their budgets for this year, I don't see this as an urgent or top of mind project, but it shouldn't be that hard to have Carbondale say, what is the bottom line in their 2026 budget of transportation spending? And, what these are the add-ons to the big RAFTA, but combined as a valley and as a region, I just think the public needs to get a sense that we're all in it together. Everyone's putting in from their budgets and from their property taxes or sales taxes, and locally in their local budgets as well, to help us deal with this project. And it may, of reducing congestion and adding mobility, it may help spur people to use our services more when they realize how much collectively we're all putting into those sort of goals. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate it. Thanks, Kurt.
Greg,
Colin.
quick comment. I was just wondering, I mean, Rachel and I think Greg have brought this up in the past, the 2027 closure of the Pickens County Airport and the reduction or the projected reduction in revenue from the Upper Valley. How does all this fit into what we're talking about now?
Thanks, Colin.
And I know that's a big question.
Well, I think it's a topic that we're paying attention to. Obviously, from RAFTA's revenue stream, the largest potential impact would be for sales tax revenues. And I know as our finance team works with our member jurisdictions to get estimates for the current year 26 budget, we've heard from as it relates to 27, I believe the city of Aspen shared that the initial projections could be a decrease of maybe 15%. I recognize from what the limited information that I know about the project, they're trying to complete it in one construction season. So there's a lot of variables with that. What's hard to know is how does the business community, what their plan is in terms of how do they stay open, what kind of staffing levels will they anticipate, how visitors are anticipated to be impacted from a tourism standpoint, because it all impacts demand potentially on our services. And I think that that's something that the more information that we understand of how it could impact RAFTA, not just from the revenues, but also how the workforce is expected to change for 9+ months. That'll be important to hear from your communities, what you anticipate. And then what happens if that goes long. But there's a lot of operating impacts potentially, but I think as long as we continue to share information and try to plan for that for the 27 cycle, that'll be helpful. I do think that I do think that for right now, while our focus is on 26, there are a lot of unknowns still with that. So that's probably as much as I could share right now from our end. Is there anything you guys
Well, no, I mean,
want to
just,
share?
it's
from
just,
your end?
it's an open question.
Yeah.
And how do we prepare ourselves? Do we move more into reserves, or operating reserves in 2026 to prepare ourselves for 2027? All kinds of questions. I mean, I don't know, we have a crystal ball, so it's just being, I know you guys are thinking
Yeah.
about it, but
Yeah.
I think everybody, it's still like a couple years away. But from what I've heard, there's going to be a lot of shutdowns. People are going to renovate all kinds of things. So
Mhm.
it's going to change the dynamic, and the Upper Valley generates the most revenue for this organization, and 15% is a huge hit. 15% Carbondale is not a big deal, but 15% of Valley is a lot. So just, I know you guys are thinking about it, but it's a larger conversation that we have to prepare ourselves for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will see, again, as long, some leading indicators that we could see is just how our past sales go. But, I think as it relates to using reserves, I think the more, the potential issue in the 26 year is how the market performs. I think that, so how revenues, you hear of concerns. I think every budget cycle for the last several years after COVID is, how our revenues, will there be a slowdown in the economy? I think so, like that is, obviously, you mentioned our operating reserves, and we do have $14+ million in there. I think similar to, one of the things about RFTA that we've seen, even in an economic slowdown, is there is a higher demand for our services. So I think that that's one of the things that we're trying to navigate, even just before the 27 airport project that you're speaking to. But I think for now, it's on our minds, and so we'll try to plan accordingly, and get more information from the county or the city as to how businesses might be impacted.
Thanks, Mike. And
Yes.
Rachel, I see you have your hand up. I wanted to
Really
just
brief.
share that I'd like to, well, I'll get to you. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to share that this is the sort of time when you'd like to have an economist on speed dial, and you can have them engaged in trying to forecast this. And as Colin mentioned, we do have a lot of renovations we hear are planned. So it could be the sales tax revenue goes from tourism sales taxes to construction and renovation. So it could be that we just have as you said, a shifting economy, and who knows how much money is going to be spent. But I think a lot of money is going to be spent. People are going to take advantage to upgrade systems, and we talked to ski company about lift replacements yesterday. There's a lot of stuff going on. So, and will be. I'm going to get to Rachel and then Tom.
Just quickly on your point there, of course, all that renovation construction will be an increase in traffic on 82.
Yeah, and higher demand for buses, perhaps. Yeah, unless they all want to drive their own work truck. Rachel.
Yeah, briefly, the Aspen Chamber Resort Association is, of course, looking forward to 2027, and they're trying to put together real relationships with Eagle County Airport and the Grand Junction Airport. The two together don't do as much traffic as the Aspen Airport alone does. So it's going to take both of those. They're trying to get more of a CME type of shuttle service back up and running. Who knows? Maybe there would be a profit-making role for RFTA if we could do buses to Grand Junction and back. I just don't know whether we're even allowed to. But anyhow, I think we should invite Debbie Braun of the Chamber of Commerce in for some future meeting, maybe the November meeting. I don't know, but they are trying to put together a one-pager with as much accurate information as they can get. And what came out of their last board meeting is like, hey, don't say all the hotels are closing. We don't really know. People's plans are shifting about who's going to close or who's not going to close. And the other thing to bear in mind is that we could always have a bad snow winter any one of these years, and that would affect our sales tax and our budgets as well. So, we just have to push ahead with as best information as we can get. But I think asking the Aspen Chamber Resort Association, or even them with the ski company, to discuss their plans with us at a future board meeting would be helpful. Thank you.
Great suggestion, Rachel. Thank you. Just wanted to ask, 14 million in reserve, that's about 2 months operating, or is it, don't we usually think of, with the county, we talk about 16%, 2 months operating, you're at about 14%.
RAFTA's operating reserve policy is the greater of the two. So that's greater of the two, meaning the revenues or expenditures for the average 2 months of the year. And so that's currently what our policy is. And I think David Carl, as part of the presentation, he'll talk about some of our fund balance levels, but he'll also give there's a few more slides that he wanted to cover.
Oh, okay. We'll let you continue.
Still here.
We forgot. Who are you again? Thanks, David. Thanks for that. And Mike, we'll keep going. In other words, what they're saying is shut up and let us finish.
They just want to get me out of here. All right. Hey, just one thing as we're looking, so this is a slide that was added, just our capital assets. Kurt mentions over 300 million. One of the things when you think about 300 million, that's based on historic, like what we paid for it. So as time goes on, as we get some more of these studies done and really start to flush out when some of these major costs are going to be impacting us and prioritizing in that, we're transit's very, I think Mr. Michael Yang educated me on. There's a reason why it's really hard for a lot of places to do it, and they'll come to RAFTA to do it because it's very capital intensive.
And just to add to the context, a lot of those assets, RAFTA had benefited from a lot of grant programs to help advance some of those projects. And so that's why, we do have a dedicated team and resources in RAFTA to continually monitor the grant environment and try to identify, match those opportunities with our needs. And so and from the bigger picture too, a lot of grant programs are overprescribed. There's a lot more requests, just like we were talking about our strategic initiatives, where there are a lot more needs than funds that are available. So we do compete for our grants. And this is just one of those things that David Johnson and Jason White, there are dedicated resources to help RAFTA advance a lot of these capital projects, in addition as they work with the project teams. So anyway, David, I'll stop there to continue on with your lengthy slideshow.
Most of these will go a little quicker. So real quick, as we talked about, sales tax and property tax, that's 2/3 of RAFTA's budget. Going through, obviously, service contracts, operating on down. Go ahead, Nicole. And then just where we're at on the expenditure side. Obviously, one of the things to know, like capital outlay at this point is only 3%, is just about $3 million. There's a slide in there that kind of breaks that out, but obviously a lot of our strategic initiatives will be falling into this category as we move in and present in November. The financial overview is really just looking at by fund from our beginning through where our total fund balances are across the board. You'll notice a lot, or we just zero out. We use general fund money for bus stops and making sure our service contracts on the traveler side and everything else comes out to zero. Just composition. This is just another illustration. So obviously the big thing, it's between service contracts, property tax, and sales tax is a bulk of it. One interesting thing is we have benefited on the flip side on investment income. We've been holding steady. We'll come in probably around $4 million this year, which is the last few years we've benefited from this environment to help offset some of the increases in costs. We know at a certain point in time, rates will drop. when we look at our 5-year revenue comparison, probably one of the big things is when you kind of pull out that blue, the very top is kind of our capital portion we get from grants, our local jurisdiction on the capital side. So our revenues, as we talked about, is really increasing at 3%. You know, if we look at our sales and use tax, we talked about we're at 2.6% over budget right now on this one. And really right now we're kind of flat as more information comes in. Hogback, this is an update as we look at what does that cost between Newcastle and Rifle, that portion. Go ahead. And then as we're looking, so one of the things is right now for this first draft, we did put in Garfield County's contribution of what they contributed in 2025 and Rifle's contribution as the same amount right now. We'll find out more from the Board of County Commissioners in October on there. The other big thing that did happen was we found out the we've been getting $200,000 in grant funds from CDOT, from a faster grant program each year to help offset some of these costs. We will not be receiving that next year, and there's a good chance that might not be happening moving forward. So a lot of this is due to a funding shortfall that we're hearing from the Colorado Department of Transit and Rails.
If I could just add onto this one, this is likely going to be a continued topic of discussion for the board as we put this budget for 2026 together. We are anticipating, so what you see on the screen here, these are the costs for the portion of the hogback from Newcastle to Rifle. So that's the portion where we're operating outside of our service area. And that service is funded and historically has been funded through a grant that we received from Garfield County. Over the last several years, that funding from Garfield County has continued to decline. Right now, we're just showing the same amount of a contribution from Garfield County as they provided last year, but they've already indicated to us that they've got about a 19% shortfall in funding for their overall budget, and we could expect that there'd be a further reduction of their contribution to this service. So the reduction from the county that we're anticipating, as well as that loss in grant revenue from the state, it's further increasing that bottom number that you can see of where RFTA has been filling the gap to provide that service. Now, one potential opportunity is we mentioned that new grant program, the Senate Bill 230 funds from the state. There could be a scenario where those funds could be available to help fill that gap and possibly even increase it. So those are going to be continued discussions that we're going to want to have, as well as discussing with the communities that are receiving those services, so Silt and Rifle. We are in talks with them to see if they can also help with this funding shortfall.
Thank you.
Comment?
Oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Kurt, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but I'm just kind of wondering, we've just signed a letter supporting a federal mineral lease grant to another organization to Garfield County. And I know that pot of money is there for these sort of grants. Have we considered writing a grant request for RFTA for the federal mineral lease funds to help fill this backfill even a little bit? I think it might be worth a try. They do have to allocate that money annually, and this really helps the community of Rifle and Silt, and you know, even potentially increasing service there someday, because I think a lot of our ridership's coming from there. But it's just worth thinking about applying to that same fund for RFTA itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
This next slide is just a graphic illustration of, just as we look at our departments by fund, obviously the transit between vehicle and operations is a bulk of the cost going through here. Go ahead, Nicole. As we talked about earlier, we have about $3 million. This is just what's really represented in this first draft from the first and last mile mobility grant program across engines, transmissions, rebuild. We have a schedule each year for our buses to make sure they can hit their life cycle. So really, we have 3 million in it, which is very minor. As we get more information into that second draft with the strategic initiatives, we'll see a lot of changes, and we'll be able to update the board with those recommendations from staff. Staffing levels right now, it assumes a little over 400 full-time employee equivalents. Really, the biggest change here is some of our positions in 2025 were part year coming on board as we're phasing in to help with our ERP software implementation, things like that. So really, there's not a huge change. One of our full-time CDL full-time drivers, slight increase as we kind of weigh a lot of things that impacts our transit service plan on, hey, what is between vacations, sick time, all those other things. We kind of have to weigh and do a calculations. Where does that number come out at? So we're getting close to the end here. So as questions arise, feel free for anything else. I know we're past time. We're in our 4th year of the regional bike share program. So as we get closer to the end of the regional bike share program, there'll be more discussions on what happens after 2028. The first and last mile mobility grant program, as we're funding microtransit for now, helping assist with some funding for the 3 microtransit. One of the things is we'll need to look closer as we get into, and we'll have a little bit more in November on where do we feel like we're at with the FLMM program and reserves for future funding. And then the compensation market adjustment. So every 2 years, so this is really a part of our strategic initiative process. The executives kind of weigh through the information we get from our outside employers council that give us a lot of great information to weigh in to figure out what is going to be positioned forward. We'll have that recommendation at the November presentation. And just really as we go through this, kind of the graphic illustration of the fund balance by our committed different things that fund balance is already tied to. So if you kind of look at the different like restricted on down to non-spent, unassigned. So a lot of this kind of depicts on where that money sits, what can it be used for, and a lot of it is going to be directed by the board itself. And then staff will have recommendations as we start to tie into some of our overall that $97 million in fund balance. We do know, as Mr. Michael Yang talked about, we have the 2 months of reserve funding. That's part of that's in this pie chart itself. So one of the things that's not included right now is we'll have the Iron Mountain Place financing. So we'll have roughly $13 million that will be going into fund balance for future use. That's really not depicted in that 2025 line right now. But as we get that piece incorporated, that's going to help figure out some of this funding. But we're excited from the budget side as we start to overlay all these future costs and have our best estimates moving forward. One of the things when we do talk about strategic initiatives, what the executives do have to weigh is anything that has ongoing costs. So when we look at that chart, you had like 35 and then 6 million of ongoing. Well, anything on the future with the airport shutdown at 27, that could impact decisions on, hey, do we have to delay things because they do have an ongoing future cost that will just keep going on out after the project has started. We've come to everybody's favorite slide. So as we get in, so a lot will be refining between now and November. So the 2 biggest things would be the staff's recommendations on the strategic initiatives to include, as well as any changes to the transit service plan. And then we'll be really kind of tightening the bolts with all the departments on figuring out, okay, where our true needs are. There's a lot of fluctuations. We know what happens here in the Valley based on, I think Rachel brought up, like seasonal snow. Like we've been very fortunate this past year that we have a lot of savings because we didn't have a huge snowfall year. So there's a lot of fine tuning between now and then, but I'm going to turn over any questions at this point.
Okay, questions from the board, clarifications, comments, questions? I don't see anybody jumping in, so well done.
Thank you all. Budget guys stepping out.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Mike. Good job as usual.
Thank you, David. Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
Clear for us. Okay, as they move on, we're moving on to the update in winter service increases for Mid-Valley capacity. This will be exciting.
Okay, I'd like to introduce this one. We have Ian Adams, our Director of Operations, who will present on this topic. But of those 114 strategic initiatives that we just discussed in the draft budget, one of those was an initiative that we wanted to advance before the 2026 year. And that initiative was submitted by Mr. Adams here to increase our Mid-Valley capacity on our BRT service to address our capacity constraints that we've had for some time due to the growing demand that we're seeing in the lower valley, where buses are filling up much sooner in the Glenwood Springs area. And by the time they get to Carbondale and to Elgibel and Basalt, the buses are full. So it can lead to uncomfortable standing rides for passengers or having to wait for the next bus that's coming. So Ian here has put together an initiative that we are hoping that we could advance for this winter season that starts November 2025. It's the week of Thanksgiving. At this point in time, we believe that we have budget in our 2025 annual budget to cover the month and a couple weeks of 2025. It would ultimately then need to be included in the 2026 budget if we were to continue that. But I will now hand it over to Ian to share what he's planning.
Thanks, Ian. Music to our ears.
You hear me now? All right. Yeah, so just a brief overview in addition to what Kurt provided of how we arrived here. As we all know, winter is our busiest season. Nothing gets people in car or out of their cars and onto buses better than busy, snowy roads. So this is the initiative was two phases: one to look at our winter service plan and one to look at our summer service plan, which will be both impacted by this. But I'll focus on the winter for the time being, since that's the topic at hand. Historically, we've addressed our ridership or constraints by both equipment and the deployal of backup buses. So each day, RFTA schedules a contingent of extra bus operators who are there in case someone calls in sick at the last minute, or we have additional riders above and beyond what we can accommodate. And this has been our historical model. Typically, when we see high ridership demands coming on a specific trip, we use one of our over-the-road motor coaches, which has a seated capacity of about 53 passengers above our normal seated capacity in a 40-foot bus, which is just 35 passengers. The chart that is up on the screen represents all of our AM up valley rush hour trips and their average passenger load taken at Brush Creek Park and Ride, which for both directions, going both up and down valley during the rush hour, is our high water mark. So that's where we chose to present this, just because it's a good singular location to look at. So anything above that orange line represents potential standees if we're not able to deploy one of our over-the-road coaches. So any of our 40-foot buses, anything above that line, a seat will not be available to anyone boarding that bus. The issue is more pronounced in the morning up valley rush hour, especially right at that 6:05 a.m. trip. That one always typically has an over-the-road coach. But due to our service plan and where we use these buses, a number of these trips may be going up valley and then be used throughout the day on skier services, which we don't want to deploy an over-the-road coach on. So this really identifies where we wanted to target those trips. And you can see here that it's in that 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. hour that these additional trips will be added. Our goal isn't to get all these bars down to zero because we want people riding the buses, but we really want to get it in that 20 to 30 range, because that gives us room for capacity. And this is also an average passenger load. So on really busy snowy days, the ridership factor will be even higher on these. But this just gives a good high-level overview of the issue we're trying to address and just how pronounced it is. If you add up the total that goes above that orange line in that rush hour period for the morning, we're exceeding our seated capacity by about 65 passengers. But the service plan that we're looking to add will augment the morning rush hour by adding 175 additional seats. So not only are we hoping that it addresses the issue we're currently facing, it gives us a little bit of room for growth. But this is being done as a pilot for this year. We're hoping to come up with the solution that's sustainable and allows for a little bit more growth and can be expanded in future years. The reason we targeted 5 trips and the plan we adopted now is this will be within our current fleet restriction sizes. So this will bring us right up to our FTA ideal fleet size without having to require additional equipment to come on. So we'll continue to monitor this throughout the winter to hopefully see improvement in these areas. But this is why we are looking to add 5 trips in the morning rush hour and then 4 trips in the afternoon rush hour. The morning rush hour is a more pronounced issue. If you don't get a seat at Basalt, you're standing all the way from Basalt into Aspen. Going down Valley, passengers are boarded in the order they come on. So you may stand one day all the way to Carbondale, you may not the other day, depending on when you got to that bus. So we hear a lot more feedback from our customer service line. It's something we constantly monitor to see where we need to add additional trips, as well as monitoring the passenger loads in real time on our buses. But this is the current state of affairs and what we're looking to address.
Great. Thanks, Ian. I can say that I know at least 2 Pitkin County commissioners who will be really grateful to see this happen. Any comments or questions from Colin?
No, I
And then
just want to
Dave?
thank you. We've been hearing this in Carbondale for quite some time, especially in the mornings, in
And
the winter.
that's one of the big changes from the last 5 to 6 years is we used to schedule an additional backup bus in the El Jabal and Willits area because that was typically where we were encountering these capacity restrictions. The trend is moving more and more towards Carbondale where we're running into these issues.
Yeah, so I appreciate the effort. Our workforce is moving down Valley.
So this will be the most robust winter service plan we've offered in terms of frequency during peak rush hour. We'll be going from 130 BRT trips a day to 139.
Wow. Dave?
Yeah, thanks for putting this together. Very timely. Are we looking at starting any of the additional trips in Carbondale? Or is everything going to start? Because I thought last time we spoke about this, we're going to increase some capacity in this, mid-valley up portion to address some of that.
Right now, staff is in the process of developing our winter service plan and looking for the exact location to best deploy these trips. And I think we can provide an update on our November board meeting on what the exact service plan will be.
Okay, that's in play. I saw the before and after timetable, and I was like, oh, everything's starting up in West Glenwood. And I think you probably fill those too because there's a lot of latent demand, but I think there's also probably more latent. I mean, you would know better, but my sense is there's a lot more in the Mid Valley and in Carbondale and up. So
our goal is to put them when and where they're needed and make sure that it addresses the issue we're trying to address.
Great. Well, thanks for doing this. I know this is going to be greatly appreciated and drive ridership, which we all want.
And I think I said November board meeting, it should be ready by next board meeting. We don't have to wait that long.
This is great news. And I think, for all the good news we've heard today, I would love to see this pushed out by RAFT. If Jamie, could push this out because I think the commuting population will be really grateful to hear this. And it just shows that RAFT is being proactive or responsive. I'll put it that way. Thank you. Is there any more? That's it.
That is it for the winter service plan adjustments. We do have one other resolution regarding our changes to our RFTA passenger code of conduct.
Great, thank you. Please, carry on with that.
So I believe in 2021, RFTA adopted a passenger code of conduct for the first time. We're looking to make a few small but hopefully highly impactful changes to that. namely the removal of the language around no loitering. For all intents and purposes, that is not really enforceable in any of the jurisdictions we have. It's not a crime that has any
Okay.
clear definition around it. So what we're just trying to do is clarify the behavior we're trying to discourage at our bus stops. So the largest language change with that is clearly defining what RFTA property and what RFTA services are for by stating that RFTA buses and facilities are only for accessing transit services. It's not a place to post up, camp out, spend 6-7 hours making your dinner or doing something else like that. We also have more clearly defined what the reasonable time limit is at a RFTA bus stop or property to access these transit services. With our current transit service plan, with the 2040 improvements that were made, all of our transit connections should be able to be made in 45 minutes or less. There's no reason to be at Ruby Park waiting for 3 to 4 hours for the next bus that you want to catch with the frequency we offer currently. So we also have language in there now that says all transit connections can be made within 45 minutes. Individuals remaining beyond that time frame may be asked to leave. The important language is may be asked to leave. It's not, we're going to go through every 45 minutes and clear out Ruby Park and say you have to leave. It's just more clearly defines what the expectation is. And then there's one other small language change around drivers have the right to refuse service to any person who is exhibiting problematic behavior, which is a cleanup of some the previous language which stated is problematic or may become problematic. And we just wanted to more clearly define what we're looking for in terms of the expectation of conduct from our passengers. This language was developed in conjunction with local law enforcement partners, primarily the Aspen Police Department, who we have the most interaction with at Ruby Park, to come up with language that works for both our expectation of the public and what the Aspen Police feels is enforceable in their jurisdiction.
Great. I know we have questions. Aaron.
Would this extend to the bus stop shelters? I know those are managed kind of by municipalities, but
Yeah, so this would apply to all RFTA services and properties, so 27th Street Station or any of our bus stops as well.
perfect. So like, for instance, like Glen Avenue, that one has become a quasi home site for some people at times. That would allow a little bit better, I think, enforcement. Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
And that was a big part of the
appreciate
driving
that.
force behind these language changes.
Thank you.
Is the language, I was looking at Paul, when you said that is problematic enough of a description that's can be interpreted and is it something that I guess is a standard term of use for this? Because it just seems a little vague to me, but I guess you can't be more specific.
There are more specifics in the rest of the code of conduct around use of alcohol or drugs, disruptive language, anything around that. And that would be what we'd be pointing to and that we define as problematic.
Got it. Okay. I was just reminded of a situation years ago where I had the opportunity to help an organization that worked with the homeless, coaxing somebody out of a shelter they'd moved into. And I'm wondering if you're working with the police departments, maybe that's enough. I know we had a presentation from the Pitkin co-responder teams, which has mental health professionals who may be better skilled for situations like that. And just want to alert RFTA should know that they've got great resources to call if something like this happens.
Yeah, no, I've been in contact with that group. I think they have 3 trained responders that are able to be dispatched in Pitkin County.
Maybe more by now. I'm not certain how many. I should know that. We gave them an award yesterday, but I didn't count heads. Thank you. Helpful.
I just have one comment. On the red line version in the packet, it says no disruptive or abusive behavior or language property.
Oh.
I'm assuming you meant to red line out the word property.
Yes. So I'll make sure that we have Nicole on the resolution to make sure that
Great.
typo is not included.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Well, it happens when you red line. It's hard to see the words that come after aren't taken out or, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yes. but it looks good otherwise.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? This is a reso, 2533, approve of changes to the passenger code of conduct. Further discussion or a motion, I would entertain.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Jean.
I'll second.
Second from Melissa. Gone on discussion. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we back on track? How did that
Might have
happen?
gotten us there,
I
Greg.
did my best.
Well done, Ian. You brought us back on. Okay, Kurt. What you got for us? Kurt, Dave?
Okay, moving into CEO report. I do have one item that didn't make the packet that I'll speak to here right now. We did get a request from Colorado Department of Transportation, Division of Transit and Rail, their director, Paul DeRocher, as well as Herman Stockinger, who is in their policy group at CDOT. They are planning a trip for the Transportation Commission for the state to ride the Amtrak from Denver up to the Glenwood Station. And they have requested that we then pick that group up at the train station and bring them over to our Glenwood maintenance facility that was just finished back in December to provide a tour to the Transportation Commission. And then following the tour, take them back to the train station and they'll go back to Denver. So we just wanted to let you all know, in case any of you'd like to participate in that event, it's scheduled for October 15th. I don't have the specific times yet of when they plan to arrive, but we'll provide that to you all when that's available, in case any of you'd like to participate.
Thank you. I'm wondering if the director of CDOT might be joining that. I know Shoshana Liu has a presence in the valley, and I've heard she may be making a tour at some point. I'm wondering if she may participate in that. The other question I had was, don't want to be provocative or anything, but could we pick them up in an electric bus? Or an e-bus? Let's just deliver e-bikes to the train station.
That's definitely possible.
I'd love to suggest that, but
I guess we do have the times, David said.
Yeah, so my conversation with Herman so far, I anticipate that they're looking for a pickup at the, used to be the Hotel Denver. I can't remember what it's called now. Maxwell. At 3:30 p.m. and then dropped back off there at 5 p.m. So this is going to be a pretty quick tour. So expecting about 25 to 30 people coming from Denver. So it's going to be a pretty big group. I think it's definitely appropriate if any of you would like to attend.
time again was 3 or 3:30?
3:30 pickup and then 5 p.m. drop off back at the hotel.
Got it. Thank you.
Since it's my home, you can probably count on me. I'll look at my
Okay.
calendar, but I'm pretty sure I could show up.
Okay.
Looks interesting. That's on the 15th.
Yes, October 15th.
Right. And so we'll have a chance to discuss that happening at our next meeting as well. Is that right? Are we still get my dates right? Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Okay, moving on to the next item here. Colin mentioned at our last meeting, asking about our OKRs, the objectives and key results for 2026, the priorities that came out of our board summit this past summer or spring. And we just have in the CEO report here at the top, laying out the discussion items. We talked about potential areas where RFTA could be helping out the region in a higher capacity for regional planning, assistance with grant writing, and transportation demand management. The 4 board objectives as priorities for 2026 were objective 1.1, which was protect and utilize and ensure accessibility of the Rio Grande Railroad Corridor and Rio Grande Trail. That has to do primarily with our management of that corridor in managing encroachment and licenses. as well as objective 4.3, which was preserve financial sustainability with a balanced long-range budget and forecast, which is timely based on our discussions today. The third one was objective 4.5, which was optimize services and expenditures for efficiency and cost savings. And finally, objective 6.3, which is prioritize energy efficient strategies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and advance projects responsibly. So as we're reviewing our those 114 strategic initiatives, we're evaluating those as how they relate to these 4 objectives, as well as the overall strategic plan, but we are prioritizing initiatives that help advance the key results for these 4 objectives. We actually have a work session this afternoon where we're going to be working with David Knapp to walk through identifying key results for these objectives based on those initiatives. We'll be able to start bringing those forward possibly in October or November to share with the board.
Great. Very exciting. Something to look forward to.
As mentioned earlier, if Jamie wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, just an update on the Zero Fair for October and November and the outreach kits that Jamie and her team has put together to share with member jurisdictions.
Good morning, everyone. In the board packet, we have a little write-up and there's a link. We have a outreach media kit, whatever you want to call it. It has a variety of posters, handbills, email templates that people can send to their staff, social media posts, everything all in English and Spanish to share with staff, your teams. We've already shared this with all area local chambers. We've sent it out to large employers. We've sent it to kind of Pickens County, City of Aspen, City of Glenwood Springs, asking them to share it. Most notably, Colorado Mountain College CMC, their director of marketing was really excited and he said they're posting it all over their facilities. Just to kind of go over a couple other things we're doing. We're coordinating newspaper, paid radio, paid social media, all kind of launching in the next week. So be prepared to be inundated with it. We're also planning to post pop-up tables throughout the mid to lower valleys at bus stops. And then we're kind of targeting some libraries and farmers markets to kind of get those people who maybe aren't riding the bus to put the Zero Fare campaign in front of them. We have distributed posters valley-wide from Aspen to Newcastle, kind of at all major bulletin boards. There's a service that does it for us. And kind of something new we're doing, which is launching in the next few days, we're launching kind of targeted paid Google and YouTube ads. We've created a couple fun little videos that we're going to target people in our area, telling them to ride the bus because it's free. We do have a current banner in our mobile ticketing app alerting people who use mobile tickets that the fare free period is coming up, and we're working on graying out fares in the next few weeks so people can't purchase those 30-day passes or day passes and they'll know what's coming up. I just want to say, most notably, we have a social media campaign that launched last week, and so far with just 2 weeks going on, we've reached 49,000 views and over 600 interactions. So that's just kind of a taste of what's coming, and we have more coming in the next few weeks. And then we've also, I wanted to mention, we've been coordinating with the City of Aspen. They're working on getting posters up at key bus stops, Ruby Park. They're working with Car2Go customers. They're handing out handbills to carpoolers and their top employer participants, sharing kind of all of our information, getting it out there. So any questions?
One question is, do we have any information on how much could a commuter save? I know it's a range, but it'd be really great to see how much can an individual commuter save by getting off out of their car and onto the bus from as far away as Silt, I guess, Newcastle.
Yeah, we can work on trying to pull some of those numbers together.
It'd just be kind of interesting. People, it might not occur to people until they see, what their monthly savings could be.
Right. Yeah, that would be a good statistic to share.
A little bit. I used
October 1st through November 30th.
Right.
2 months.
Aaron.
Well, I used to commute from Glenwood to Aspen regularly, and I did the math one time just based on, kind of anecdotal data plus, like the mileage reimbursement, and I think that I figured I could make about $6 an hour less and break even if I factored my time, my actual unpaid time in commuting, plus all the other, associated costs. So it's significant.
$50 a day.
Yeah, it's significant.
That's pretty huge.
And this was, 20 years ago. So.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question. I didn't see Snowmass Transportation listed as someone you've talked to, but I'm assuming you've talked to them.
I sent it to the Snowmass marketing people, but I didn't send it specific to transit, but I will for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you send it to transit and it would be helpful. And Greg, our assistant town manager, he does all the communications for the social media, so that would be helpful.
I'll make sure he gets it.
Yeah, thanks.
Sounds great, JP.
We have a question from Bill.
Oh, Bill, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks so much. I'm wondering, can we use some irony and humor and sort of hit on people's pain points? Maybe coordinate with local jurisdictions to get some signs put up on the side of 82. You're tired of sitting in traffic. Wouldn't you rather be taking a nap right now? That type of. I'm not the funniest guy in the world, but maybe we could get some local comedians or something to help us write some signs to really hit on the pain points, because our target customer is not the engaged, active RFTA user right now. It's the person who's currently in their car. And, I think we should do it both in English and Spanish, which I'm sure you're already on top of, but, try to make it eye-catching and funny and really capitalize on people's pain points. And maybe some of it's about money, maybe some of it's about convenience, maybe some of it's about, the annoyance of sitting in traffic. But I'd love to, and I know it's coming up on last minute, but I'd love to try to do as much of that as we can too.
Thanks, Bill. Great suggestion. I just think anybody with large truck envy would appreciate a bus even more than their own monster truck. Rachel.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a couple of small comments. One is that building on Bill's idea there, if it is appropriate, I've noticed that like during election season, the Eagle County property at El Jebel becomes just covered with yard signs for everyone, multiple. And perhaps that would be a great spot to be able to have a banner. I don't know of other public locations, but that might really be a good one there to do a large, 6x6 type of sign. The other thing is really thinking about capacity. I don't want this first week of surge of new riders or second week end up being standing room only. And if we need to deploy more of the additional buses for the experiment, I know it's a cost factor and maybe wasn't originally calculated in the extra $550,000 that came in from the Upper Valley, but we should make sure we're ready for surge capacity during this whole experiment so that people don't ride it and then get turned off on it, during the same time period. And then on the other idea that I heard, which is really accurate, of what is the savings, what is the cost? Literally back in the 90s and early 2000, when we formed the RTA, Alice Hubbard, who later became Alice Laird, did a lot of great work developing, the materials to tell people how much they could save. And it's one thing to say how much you can save yourself individually, but they took it one step further and said, well, if your family can survive with only one car instead of two cars, that is when your savings really add up, because you don't have a second set of repairs and tire changes and oil changes and gasoline and insurance. And so if we are able to put something like that together, I also think we really should talk about what the family savings is if you are able to survive with one car instead of two. Thanks a lot. That's the only comment. Take care.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay.
Okay.
Is it for Jamie?
Yes.
Thanks, Jamie. Well done. Looking forward to this.
So David has a couple updates as well.
Just got a couple updates. So on the Rio Grande Trail tour that was mentioned earlier that Colin referenced, excuse me, it just has some updates and reminders on logistics for that. If you are interested in attending, please reach out to Nicole. to get on that list. It is currently scheduled for November 3rd, starting at 9 a.m. at the Raptis Blake Avenue offices and continuing up to Woody Creek Road in Aspen and ending at 3 o'clock. We will be able to bring people back to Glenwood Springs if you do need a shuttle back to pick up your car. And we're looking at lunch at Ming's Cafe in Carbondale. So it's looking to be, I think, pretty well attended. Looking forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. And it will be a good opportunity for us to interact, particularly on what's happening on the trail, all the way up and down the corridor. So yeah, please reach out to Nicole if you are interested in attending.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Rachel?
Really briefly, coincides with one of our Monday work sessions that starts at 4 o'clock. I've already talked to Nicole about this. I'm going to take a RFTA bus down to get to picking up the tour in Glenwood, but I won't be able to go back there to pick up a car or anything like that. And I did not know it was going to end at Woody Creek. And so I would be stuck at Woody Creek at 3 o'clock needing a ride into Aspen if I'm going to participate. So I just put that out there as maybe you'll have to have a little bit of a shuttle there or something like that so that I can get up to my meeting in Aspen at 4. That's all.
I would just add, Alyssa and I have a similar issue of town council at 4 o'clock in Snowmass that day. So is there some way we could leave our cars in Woody Creek and get a ride down to Glenwood? We could then at the end of the tour, get in our cars and get to our meeting.
I was just gonna take the bus from the park and ride and hope that someone could take us back to the park and ride.
I think certainly getting back to the park and ride should not be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Okay. Yeah.
But I can talk to Nicole and we can figure out some
that's an
logistics
idea.
and make that
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, that would work for me too. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks for your interest in attending. This is great.
And then just a quick update. Thanks for the information on the less traffic, more community presentation at TACA a couple of weeks ago. We were able to attend. So myself, Hannah Klausman, who's the new planning director, and Mary Harlan, our mobility coordinator, were all able to attend to that event. It was very well attended. I was surprised on a midweek evening presentation how many people were there. You would have thought it was a name band of some sort. People are apparently very excited about less traffic. So it was a presentation by Ryan Johnson, who's CEO of Cul-de-sac. If you're not familiar with that, he and his company developed a car-free community in Tempe, Arizona. So he discussed that process of going through and developing that project and how it's been going now that it's fully developed out, as well as the co-founder John Zimmer of Lyft. So the two of them then did a panel session. That was very interesting, hearing them really bounce ideas off each other about how Lyft was created and how it interacts with car-free communities specific to this one in Tempe. So again, thank you for that recommendation. We were able to attend. Not sure if you didn't, I don't recall seeing any of you there. Were you there? But it was a good event.
Yeah, they had some interesting data on, it was kind of more total cost of ownership of an automobile, not like if you rode the bus, and it's a lot of money.
It is.
I mean, when you think about it, and they had some pretty compelling arguments. So like, well, if you don't do that, you save this money and you get these benefits socially, and it was really good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to attend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and following in the CEO report are the monthly performance metrics that we share with you all, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Just in general, year to date, ridership's up 3%. And Mike, was there anything on the financial report?
The one on the last page of the board packet, there's just a brief update. It's more or less to give you guys a heads up at the October board meeting. We plan to, well, as it relates to the Iron Mountain Place, the employee housing project in Glenwood Springs that is currently active. We are working with our financial advisor, bond counsel, and Alpine Bank, who is the entity who we're advancing this project with from a financing standpoint on that project. So we plan to take to the board at the next meeting and asking the board to approve resolutions to authorize staff to execute documents and move forward with the financing on that project. As you recall, we did fund it through our fund balance initially, and the board approved reimbursement resolutions to preserve our ability to finance the project after the project. So that's why we're doing it after the project has been completed. So that's something that I just want to give a heads up to the board at the next board meeting in October.
Right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Mike. What else you got before we?
We're having to share a microphone here, sorry. David just mentioned that to highlight one item, is that in the report as well? So we do have in the metrics our operational readiness. I don't know if you want to bring that up for the group to see. Some exciting news is we've hit our target for staffing. I think I shared that last month, but probably a real indicator of how well we've done and how prepared we are from a staffing level and being able to provide enough capacity for the demand during this fare-free period is we actually closed our bus operator advertisement for the first time in 5 years.
Fantastic.
So
well done.
We've made significant progress. Just big kudos to our operations staff, Mark Scruton, who does our hiring and recruitment. Everybody involved with that process. It's been a huge lift for the organization, and this was definitely something we're celebrating for us. So
fantastic. Thanks for that.
And with that, I think that concludes our CEO report, unless there's any questions.
I don't see questions. I'm going to keep us moving. Up next, we have an executive session pursuant to CRS 246402E and I, or is that L, and F and L, determining matters that may be subject to negotiation and personnel matters. I need a motion to go into an exec session. We'll clear the room of anybody who's not part of this.
I'll second.
We have a motion, Alyssa, and a second from Aaron. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're going to give everyone a couple minutes.